26 members. We have $1,413 in checking. We have about $5,250 in our CD, which we're just rolling over. So we have 5 lifetime members, so similar, 31 members, 32.
33.
33, there we go.
How do you become a lifetime member?
What's that?
How do you become a lifetime
I
member?
have
You
no
have to
idea.
die.
You've done that twice.
You're gonna be a lifetime member today?
What were you just talking about?
After years and years and years of service, we elect you to a lifetime membership.
So don't
You've
plan
got a
on
couple
it,
of
Rick.
more years to go.
Don't plan on it, Rick.
You've got a couple of more years to go.
No rush.
Yeah,
So Rick's gonna do outboard turning.
outboard turning.
That's choose your seats accordingly. Line of fire. Let's see, what else? I don't know, really. We got new business, old business. We got the chuck. We got our new chuck.
We
which
did
is
get the
exciting.
chuck, yep,
Chuck with jaws. We'll try that out.
Yep.
And
we already got the extra tool rests. I had to have them modified, but we have those as well.
Okay.
So this lathe is ready. When you're doing a demo, basically, for the most part, everything you need should be here at the classroom. So, I mean, everybody likes to bring their own chuck, but if you don't want to bring your own chuck, everything's here.
what was wrong with the rests? Was the stem too long?
No, we have now a 4-inch and a 6-inch. What do we get?
Yes,
4
4
and
and a
6?
6.
4 and a 6. So shorter tool rests.
Oh, you bought new ones.
New ones,
I
right?
thought you had to modify them.
Well, we had to modify the shaft, was for some reason too long.
Okay.
But they were all set. Everything's good. So if you're gonna do a future demo, everything should be in place. We have the 3-inch jaws, and then we have the jaws that it came with, which is 2 3/4, maybe 2 3/8, whatever comes with it.
Small.
Small. So we have small, then we have the 3-inch jaws. So, and it's the Talon that we all talk about.
I'm losing my mind. Do we do the demo? Do we do show and tell now, usually?
We can do the show and tell now. Yep,
Do that
absolutely.
first?
3-inch jaws, is the new one.
The new one, yes. Well, we have both.
Okay.
It comes with the standard jaws, I think, are 2 3/8, based on that chuck and this size lathe. I personally like the 3-inch because I do a lot of bigger stuff, especially today, like a piece like this. I'm wondering if I should have brought my 4-inch, but that's a different story.
Is
So,
that why we have to watch out?
yes, watch out. Well, Chris is guarding the front, so if anything happens, he'll let you know. He'll let you know. But yes, other than that, I don't know, because we took the summer off, so we didn't really have anything going
Is
on.
that why so many people are YouTubing it tonight? Because
Yeah, right? Didn't even think of that.
I ain't scared.
Do you ever think about getting a piece of plexiglass so it doesn't come?
We have that.
Oh, we have that?
Yeah, it's in the other classroom. Yeah. We have that. It's a great safety feature.
The other room's perfectly safe.
That's why it's in the other room.
So we have a couple pieces. I'll go first since I'm already standing. So
If you could, just walk this way just a little bit so that,
originally we talked about, doing finishing for this meeting. And so I had printed out how I do friction polish. So this is just a cherry burl. It's didn't quite work out how I wanted it, but I finished it anyway. So I tend to use for shiny finishes friction polish, which you see. And I printed out my method that I use for friction polish. If anybody's interested.
so are you making your own? Is
Yeah, I
that
just
like
make
the
my own.
OB Shine?
OB Shine Juice, same recipe. It's
Same
similar.
recipe, yeah.
It's just
Some people don't know what that is if you want to tell them what
friction
that is.
polish.
No, the
OB
recipe.
So it's essentially 1/3 denatured alcohol, 1/3 wax-free shellac, and 1/3 oiled linseed oil, like real oiled linseed oil, nothing with additives and things like that. So you mix it 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, and then you apply the finish, but you apply it while the bowl is spinning. So the friction of the pad that you're putting polish on, the friction in the bowl heats it up. And it causes the alcohol to evaporate, and it somehow polymerizes the oil is with the shellac, and you get something like this. And I did
Oil, linseed oil, or
Oil.
just oil?
Oil linseed oil. I printed out the products that I use. Wanted to see. But it's over here. You know, and this is just it was shiny. That's why I brought one into this thing.
How durable is the finish?
Very durable. I mean, some people say it can get a little dull over time, but that doesn't bother me.
How many
I finish
coats
it
do you apply?
3 to 4. But the good thing about friction polish is you don't have to wait between coats. So the burning or the heating process really dries it instantly. So you can do 4 coats back to back to back and you're done. And then, you should probably let it sit and cure a bit when you're done, but it doesn't do anything different. It comes out the same if you wait 2 hours or 2 days between coats, so 2 minutes. That's another reason I like it.
I didn't get to read the whole thing, so might be interesting. Can you put a coat on friction polish that will make it more durable for outdoor use?
I don't know. I wouldn't.
Yeah,
I
I
would
don't-
use you can do friction polish. It's really for the depth. It has a kind of a deep finish. And, personally, I would try something else for outdoors.
So you're
Because there's no
using
UV
varnish.
protection. There's nothing to stop it from, for outdoor finishes. I don't know. But you can put another
If it
finish
doesn't
over
have a UV in there, then it's gonna melt.
Do you have to keep shaking that when you use it? Because I got some and it constantly separating.
No.
It stays.
When I make it myself,
consistent.
no, it's just shake it once and that's it. Doesn't,
No, I shake
separate?
mine and it separates.
I don't know.
And I bought that at Woodcrafters.
Huh.
Mine
Probably like
separates.
7 times more expensive than you make it yourself.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep.
So that's my talk.
Sorry, Chris. I'll look it out last.
This actually, I don't think I brought this in back like during the winter, because I actually had finished turning it back in somewhere around February or so, but I don't think I ever brought it in because I hadn't gotten finish put on it yet. So this is another one of my pieces of apple from Rocky Brook Orchard in Middletown. It's got 2
You made a
coats.
bunch of pieces from that
Oh, I
orchard.
I still got another half a dozen to a dozen large pieces sitting out in my shed. Yeah, I got a lot of, I got a whole bunch of it from it, and I'll probably bring some more in. I don't know. I brought in some. I don't know if there's any more left in here right now or not. but
Oh, I
might
think
bring
I used it all.
some more in. No, you know what? This isn't the apple. Like, wait a second. So I'm gonna have to redo the bottom because I labeled it as the apple.
No one will know.
I just remembered, this is not the apple. This is the
Doesn't look like apple.
mulberry.
Yeah, doesn't look like apple.
That's the mulberry. Which I got a whole bunch of that too, which I can bring in and spread the well. It was from a friend of mine who lives down in South Kingstown, who had a mulberry tree that they took down. And they were just trying to get rid of it. So I went down and got a whole bunch of it. And some of them are, a couple of the logs I got are about this big around. So, my standard 3 feet.
We're gonna talk about those feet later. Roland, got your spoons over there?
Yes, I do. I got 2 things. I have a safety demonstration that I'm going to explain. So this, I'm gonna stand here and show you guys, this was basically on a faceplate, screwed to a faceplate. This particular piece was here, and then I had the block of wood, same size block, except it was 6 inches long, that would have been here. And this was hot glued in place. And at home, I've made several of them with this. This is not a good piece of wood to do this with, because you can see there's no structural strength to it. But if you do it right, it's not a problem. What I was doing was a demo. I went to do a demo, and it's on this freaking junk lathe. And I don't. For one is one is a junk lathe, simple as that. And I don't know how to turn it on. So the switches are over here, and this is over here, and it's not variable speed. So it was on high speed, and it's sitting on 3 legs like this. I'm looking at this. We're on 4 legs here, so this is pretty stable. But if you only have 3 legs, it wants to do that. And so because this is out of balance to begin with, as soon as I turned it on, this freaking thing blew apart. This piece went across the room. This block of wood, the 2 by 2 by 6, nailed me right here in the chest. And again, I'm standing right here, and that hurt. Because again, full speed. And then this thing, I was lucky because there's screws here that could have impaled me. That could have been bad, or that block of wood could have hit me in the head. I always say, when you start a lathe, stay out of the line of fire, and I always do that. When I start my lathe at home, it's always on low speed, and I work my way up to a speed that I feel comfortable with. And the old guys over there say, "No, there's a speed." I said, "The numbers mean shit to me, because I don't have any numbers at home. I just have slow to comfortable." And that's all I have. I don't know how fast my machine's going, but I do know that I'm happy with that speed. That's all you need to know. You don't need to know how, 1,500, 1,000, who gives a shit? Because all I know is this went so fast in a heartbeat, no mask on. I wasn't prepared for the whole thing to blow up in my face, because it was all new, and I wasn't doing the demo yet, and I was lucky because nobody was there. They were all over elsewhere. So when that machine went on, it just went blah, 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 and it scared the shit out of me. And then it hurt too. And because I had that whole hot thing done, I was lucky here and not here, because this still isn't happy. If I got nailed right in the middle where they pulled my chest apart, that might have been a bad thing. I'm not sure. Or it could have nailed me in the head, it could have nailed me in the eye, it could have done a lot of different things. Or this piece that flew out could have impaled somebody if I was doing a demo at that time and people were ready to watch it. So the
was
moral to
this
the
lesson-
story is, if you do get a lathe, try to get a variable speed. And when you turn the lathe on, always step out of the line of fire. It doesn't matter how good you are. I'm pretty good. I'm not great, but I'm pretty good at doing what I'm doing. And at home, I'm always over here, and because I got a control that moves. This is, I don't have a control over there. My control moves around, so I turn it on here, and I say, okay, that looks good, and now I can work on it. But always stay out of the line of fire. Try to make that a habit, and it's a habit at home. But because I'm on a lathe that I'm not used to, and I'm in this environment that's everything's going south, and I hate the lathe to begin with. And when it turns on, it does nothing but rattle.
And consider buying a ballistic vest.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Okay, that was just a safety feature. So no matter how good you are, shit happens, and you want to be out of the way of that shit. Just so you know. And now, this is what I've been doing
Where was the demo?
in Connecticut.
Okay.
Out in, I forgot. But I've been making these. These are the bigger ones. That was the small one. Those are small coffee scoops. This sits on the same principle as that, except it's a 16-inch plate. And then these are 3 by 3 by around 12.5 inches long, or whatever this is. So this is between centers, like so. And so whatever that length is, but I do know that comes out of a 3x3 block. And I also know that I have a little jig that fits inside here. And so this might have been like 2 3/4 or a little more. This was a little bigger, but the jig that went in here that shows me that circumference doesn't do the same thing in here because it's a different size hole. And so if you do that, you gotta make sure that whatever this circumference is on the inside, so it's a little jig that goes in, and then you can tell that you got a nice round inside surface. Otherwise you're just guessing. But that's why this one is a little different than that one, because I didn't take the time. I just said, oh, this will be, they're almost the same size, who cares? Nobody really cares. But, and then this is no finish on it. This is a piece of cherry that I had that was super wet, and I couldn't, it just wasn't finishing up because it was so wet. So I said, I'll just let this dry. This is a piece of Alaskan white cedar, and this is a really pretty piece of wood too. So anyway, so that I like doing these. And the next one I'll do is a 4-inch, and that makes a nice ladle. And what I really want to do is do another one, except put this part in my steam box, and then I can bend my handle. So now I have a regular ladle like you would have, so you can scoop, instead of doing this, you'll be able to just use it like so, with that nice bend in the handle. It'll change things a lot better, I think, anyway. But that'll happen someday. I don't know what day, but
Someday.
it's a plan. Thank you.
Oh, shit. I forgot.
We got your fees?
No, my knee.
Oh.
I just went the wrong way. I'm going in Tuesday, have it repaired. Cherry barrel, and it's like this shape because I'm putting it in a hanger, because I like to do things with pots. And it has a little bit of resin in here to give it a little color. And I use the wax from, is it the tung oil wax?
Yes. Southern and
Southerly,
Wells.
yeah.
Southern and Wells.
And the only mistake I really made was I had my thing off center. But I don't know what I'm doing that I'm getting these burn marks inside.
Show him the roll and he'll tell you how to get them out of
Well,
there.
it's burnished.
Burn. I said burn marks.
Well, if you remove some of that, your bull gouge,
Mhm.
because, you got the cutting tip here, like you can get rid of all this stuff underneath and it won't affect it. But that way, when you're doing that turn, you won't get that burnish. And so you're trying to make that turn, and what happens is the heel of the bull gouge,
It's
hitting.
touching it.
and that's what's making that.
I think I was using carbide, so.
Well, then I don't know anything about carbide, so
Oh,
I
okay.
think that was the problem, you're using carbide.
But in that case, are you saying, should you take some of the heel off your bowl gouge?
Yes,
Yeah,
I have 3 different points where I remove.
Yeah, I have a John Carter bull gouge. That's really
Yeah.
nice. If I didn't mess up the points already. But that's this. I like it.
when you put dirt in there and you put it in your hanger, nobody's gonna see
Yeah.
those marks.
Right. Oh, and then you put the plant in it.
That's what I mean, yeah, that's immaterial.
I always want to get, the plastic things that you put your pots in. I want to find a way of melting it so it'll just like mold to the inside of here so I can put water in the plant and not destroy the bowl itself.
One of the
The water, yeah,
So I gotta
epoxy.
do that too.
Because in my bases, I always put the epoxy on
Epoxy,
inside the base,
You put the epoxy
and then now you can
Right.
use it as a real
You
vase.
sit there and put it on your
Rotisserie.
rotisserie.
Yeah, so it comes out like glass. And when people look at it, and I say, well, look inside, it looks like, and then they buy it because it looks like glass, and they can't admit, it's like, oh my God.
Yep,
Where can you
exactly.
buy this? Not at Target.
So I got another half. I got to do another one of these.
Ah,
It was just half a roll.
Nice.
That's everybody.
Wasn't that everybody that's up there? Yep.
We'll take 5 minutes and
Yeah, we can do that, I'll get set up, so. So I brought this, I started doing these, walking sticks.
Mhm.
And I was hand carve them with a furrow knife, a draw knife. I was like, wow, this is way too much work. So I got this 4.5-inch grinding wheel, studded like a deburring tool, you
I have
know,
some of those.
and it's a big grinder.
It's got 4 points on it.
No,
It's
it's
like,
pointed the whole way.
it's like,
Well, I've got one with 4 points
Oh, no, this thing is.
that I can make.
This
I can actually
thing is,
cut out
course it's from China.
dough balls.
Of course.
You could cut this
Stuff I didn't open it out, package it.
and this thing
It's
eats
gonna
wood.
cost me more to ship it
So,
than it is to
the
find.
commission
it's going over to Los Angeles.
I'm going to put the speaker on that wall. Now that I have the tool to go,
There you go.
whoop, whoop, it'll take me in seconds,
This is.
right?
Okay,
All right? I don't want
that's
to
thin rip.
on the
Thin rip.
whole beat thing. I'm not putting feet up all my bowls. I just wanted to see what this grinding wheel does, because it takes, yeah, this thing needs wood.
Just make 4
I
feet.
dare.
No, you gotta have three.
Just make 4 feet.
Which is
Still
more
fight,
Which
because if
There's
it's
no wobble.
That's what happens.
That's why you put three.
All you do.
That's why you
So
go
that's
never.
why it never
No matter
wobbles.
how much the bowl
It warps with 4
warps
feet.
or changes with 3, as long as they're high, tall
Yeah,
enough,
yeah, that makes sense.
it'll never end in the, as long as you. Sometimes when I'm doing them, because when I'm taking off the tenon,
Yeah.
you get it off and it's actually, I've discovered come towards the end that the bottom isn't flat or concave, it's actually a little bit like this, it's high in the center.
Yeah. Oh,
Because I haven't,
okay.
because the way I take off my tenons, and then I usually just sand it down with a,
No,
a
that's
disc sander.
Yeah.
Um,
I was gonna bring it in, this thing is an absolute beast. It rips. I was making walking sticks in 29 minutes. Just, wow, wow. I mean, it's big.
So it's got points up? Is it like,
It's like a deburring tool, right?
Yeah.
The little tool's got nubs all the way everywhere.
okay, yeah.
Now, this has got nubs on the whole thing. It's
Yeah.
a solid steel.
But it goes on the grind, but it goes on the,
Goes on the hand grinder.
Hand grind.
oh, hand.
4.5-inch metal
Okay.
grinder.
I know which one.
And it was only $11. I was like, oh my God, this thing takes off some serious material fast. And I was like,
Sounds
I
like
could
that's
put feet on these bowls in like 3 or 4 seconds.
It actually came
Just
up.
literally just touch it and it'll take out a half an inch of wood.
That one, yeah.
One of those.
That's why that's new too. That's new.
Yeah.
Yeah, they make them
I have a couple of
little like this
Right.
roughly
and
fine.
to that size.
Right.
But they do make that little one, so you
Very
can
careful.
Yes, I said that's
use
new.
them
Grinders
on
are dangerous in
I've got
themselves.
I've got a miniature
the carving tools. the
Chainsaw.
carving tools.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
grind
But.
for my angle.
those are very safe.
Yeah. I'll throw them out.
You gotta be careful.
Yeah, very careful.
That thing kick back.
Those would be good for my mirrors,
Holds all up.
for a lot much more rapid shaping,
It has a
sometimes
router
on my analog
and
place
the
mirrors.
table.
I wanna get what
on
he
the
has.
surface instead of it being a flat surface, some of them I
Wood.
move around so that the surface is, it's curved over and it kind of, moves in up and down. So those would be a lot easier, because I'm just doing it with with sanding discs on my angle grinder.
If you're gonna take, if you're gonna be hogging something out or taking big, removing large things, you use what Roland has, which is carving. It takes out big chunks, 4 teeth. This one is almost like sandpaper on steroids.
Yeah, this one has 4 copper teeth on it, and it would, but like that one would come up.
I mean, this is good enough for some stuff.
Yeah.
But if you want removing large things of wood, you want one specifically for that.
Yeah, and you wanna clamp down that piece of wood, too, because it's an unnatural piece.
A biscuit cutter.
And I got it just to make dough balls, but it's still sitting on my counter, it's still in the package. Because I have other things.
I'll take old dough bowls and refinish them. Oh, these old ones.
Yeah.
Cracked.
Yeah.
and just epoxy fill them and then refinish them and then sand them down real smooth. Nothing that's like a super, 200 years old, but
Stop too.
worthless stuff.
Yeah.
It's not tough to do that. I'll do that with bowls, like I find thrift stores and stuff, crappy bowls. Just sand it down, refinish it. Just someone buys it. Just If you're doing this just to sand, it's no fun to just spend your time sanding.
This is the top end, this is the router. You can't girls, girls show me how to do these things.
You guys ever fix bowls for people? They would come to you and ask you to fix their stuff?
I went to.
No, I haven't. No one's ever come to me.
I have quite a few times. People
Yeah.
ask me if they can fix their grandmother's bowl, fix the bowl that they got years and years ago.
Oh,
They
the
had it all
insurance will
set
pay
up.
for it.
What's usually
Everything
the
went down
problem?
the
Crack
crack
or
crack.
Yeah, okay.
This must be their big thing that there's some.
The bowl was made with some pith in it, and so to speak, and so it's always like cracks around the rim. Yeah. See it or if it's big enough. You clamp it, it goes right back together.
I don't know, I didn't see that one last time.
Go ahead. Everybody unrested or rested? So I'm gonna talk a little bit about outboard turning and actually shape a piece, just so anybody who hasn't done it, or seen it done, at least you'll see it. If I turn the lathe on or plug it in, it's really worked well.
I think you had that problem. at
Yeah, I had the
one
last,
too.
yes. It's
Just
one
want
of
to
those,
remind you, Rick,
it's one of those things, turn the lathe on, okay.
time I need to pick on you back on you.
So, I want to start off with an explanation of, obviously outboard, we're going to be working off the bed of the lathe. Two ways to do it, and this lathe is set up with the drop 20-inch extension. So if you're going to do this, there's a couple of things. First, like Roland said, variable speed, absolute must, because you're on the outside of the lathe. You're not going to do anything more dangerous than this. Second thing, you have to have your headstock needs to slide. And if your lathe is capable of outboard turning, I'm sure those two features are an absolute must, because I don't think there's no other way to do it. So you need the sliding headstock and you need the drop-down extension. With that, I didn't grab it. When you buy that extension, you also get an extension for your tool rest. So what you'll get is you'll get a kit. You'll get the 20-inch extension and you'll get a riser for your tool rest. One thing you will not get on most lathes is a riser for the tail stock. So only the larger lathes, so Laguna, I looked it up, the next size up from this is 1836. They sell a riser for your tail stock. Powermatic sells one. Some of the other bigger lathes sell one. And then we also looked up today, Powermatic also sells a leg extension, so you wouldn't use the riser of the extension. You would use this leg to bring your tool rest up to where you want it. It doesn't have measurements on there, so we can't really tell if it's works for this lathe or not. It specifies Powermatic lathes because it's Powermatic. This whole idea, and I went through when I did this piece, how I would actually make this work, because there's a lot of variables without using without using your tailstock support for a piece this large. So kind of makes it a little iffy. I had a Jet, a 1440, and I thought this was the biggest lathe they made in America when I first bought it. And I did get the extension, and I did use it, and I had my nephew make me a block of tube stock. He welded them all together for the right height so that I could use this, and I would turn between centers to start off. The problem is, so you've got approximately probably 10 to 12 inches here, plus you're using, your headstock. So really, you only can put maybe 6 or 8 inches of actual wood in there before you run out of room if you're going to do that. Which makes this other leg device, you wouldn't have this. Then you could crash, you could turn to the floor almost. If you were that crazy, you could do it. The thing I like about this, though, if you get this size lathe, this I guess would be classified in the mini lathe category. The extension's a great feature because it'll mount here, making this now a 40-inch lathe. It'll also mount on this side, still making it a 40-inch lathe. But if you had two of those, technically, you could have a 60-inch lathe. The thing that I don't like about these is with this lathe and what we're going to try to do today, 1.5 horsepower motor. Some of them are 1 horsepower, some of them 1 1/4. So now we're going to find out today if this motor will actually spin that piece of wood. And probably it's already on low as we speak. I don't know that this motor has the torque to handle this. We'll find out together today. So depending on the lathe, I know like Peter, you've got the 1420. Yep. Which I absolutely love. It's got a much better motor, in my opinion. It also has the capacity to do this. It's about a $350 to $500 addition, depending on your lathe, your manufacturer. This particular one is $350. It's like $380. It's on sale for $350, and that's the bed and the riser. But it doesn't make a lot of sense. Without having this, it changes how you're going to turn. So what I'm going to do, first off, is to do this, you would absolutely have to prep your piece on the bandsaw first. You don't want an out around piece doing this type of a turn. So first things first, and I didn't do this on the bandsaw, I actually put it on my lathe. I started turning it and I said, oh, I could bring this in and use it for the demo. So I have intentions to bring this home and finish it on my lathe. So I'm only going to basically shape the bottom, put the tenon on, get it to go through the motion so you'll see how this end works. The other thing is, I started to think about it today, I'm not using the tailstock, and I'm going to put a tenon on. And I want to keep this bull at, say, 16 inches. That's an inch more than the lathe. I won't be able to hold the bull with a jam chuck to get the tenon off, right? Without use of the tailstock. So that means, do you switch, if you're going to do this, do you do a bigger chuck, like 4-inch chuck, and do a mortise instead? And now you don't have to worry about taking that off. So there's some variables. And then this only gives you an extra 3 inches of capacity, I think, or maybe it goes to 20. I'll have to measure it. But if you're gonna stay outside the bed of the lathe, then how you're gonna hold the bull after you've got the outside done becomes an important feature. Whether you're going to use a tenon or a mortise. In this case, I'm going to use a tenon because I've got permission from Chris Rowe. I'm thinking this bull may have feet. And I have this new grinding tool and I'm dying to see if it'll actually work. So I'm gonna turn this and leave some type of a foot, because I am at least thinking about putting feet on this just to see how this whole thing works.
I haven't tried doing this yet. I've been thinking about it.
Okay.
Cause I do everything tenons. I don't do recesses.
You don't do any research.
And when I do my tenon, if I've got the flat bottom, instead of the flat bottom like this, instead of turning the tenon out here, I actually go with, here's the flat bottom, and then I cut the tenon, which is then inset from this flat bottom.
Yep.
That way, when I take off the tenon, I've already got this outer ring that's gonna end up being my feet. So it's like, I don't see why it wouldn't work the same way. It would work the exact same way by doing it with a recess. You do a recess.
Yeah.
And to hold it from the bottom.
And
When you pull it off, you already have this depressed center, and now it's just with a ring around the outside that you just take off to make the feet.
But my point was, you wouldn't be able to hold it with a jam chuck.
Right.
So you need to, unless the other option is, now this piece is actually approaching 17 inches. The lathe will handle 15. So if I turn this down to like 14 7/8, I can actually get it on the lathe. Therefore, at that point, I would be able to reverse it and then take the foot off with that, the tenon off. So with this, the only logical way without this is to use the faceplate that comes with the lathe. I thought we had a much bigger one. We don't. We have this
That's
one.
very small for a big
That
piece
is very
of wood.
small. And the only one that's really in the way is Chris. So
I think I'm sitting,
Yeah.
now you think I'm standing here once you turn this thing on?
there's nothing. I had,
The only thing I figure is something like that's that big and that heavy isn't going to be able to fly that far.
I'll tell you, this is pretty funny. So, and I wish I don't know how to put a picture on there, but I bought the 1440, I bought the extension, I wanted to use the tailstock, I wanted to go between centers. Roland said he always turn between centers. And mine, where I had it, I couldn't go lengthwise. So my nephew and I came up with a contraption to mount it right there, facing that way. So I would stand on that side of the lathe with the bowl spinning, my headstock swiveled. So I'd swivel it and I'd be out there, and then I had a 2x4 holding it up, and I had these carbide tools homemade that I could stand about 1.5 feet back. And man, and it started up at 400. I wish I had pictures of that, but I do, but I don't know how to make them all this. So for this, I have my construction grade screws, and I don't believe they tell you to use those. They tell you to use heavy duty screws, but these have worked well for me in the past. Don't use drywall screws or screws that are way too thin. And however many holes you have, and I'm using 2.5-inch screws, because I'm hoping not to land Chris in the hospital. So it has.
So is Chris.
So I'm gonna fill up all the holes, which is 6. 2.5-inch screws. That's on the floor.
As long as that's the only thing that hits the floor, we're good.
Yeah. Well, and again, like Roland was saying, there's a lot of, especially with this, safety is key. Not being in the line of fire, being prepared for catastrophe, wearing, full face shield,
How did
et
you
cetera,
center?
et cetera.
How did you center
Lucky guess.
that?
Well, actually, there was a line there because I did this on my lathe at home,
Okay.
so it did have a spot already figured out. But what I use is I have a bunch of circles to the right diameter pre-cut. And I just put the one on there, and it has a hole that I just punch a hole. I didn't do it with this because I'm pretty confident I got it kind of where I want to be. We'll find out. We'll find out. You'll have to take off your safety decoy. And I actually called, when I first got into this idea, I called Jet and I said, geez, I got this beautiful lathe, 1440. I got the extension kit, got everything I need to know. How much is the riser block for the tail sock? Oh, we don't have that because we don't figure anybody's gonna need one. So, that's the way that goes. At any rate. So yeah, they don't even, and I did look, I looked at Laguna, they have them for the 1836. The problem is when you get into this, so you're at about 350 here for the kit, maybe 400. The riser block would run you a couple of hundred more. The stand that we were looking at earlier was $799 plus shipping and all that. When you get 2,300, another grand, you just get the right size lathe at that point.
I was surprised that they've not come out with a riser block for this. Unless they have, and I just haven't seen it.
I searched high and low for it. They didn't have it.
Powermatic, when they have a setup like this, they have a different banjo. So their banjo is this long.
Powermatic.
Powermatic,
Yeah.
right, 'cause in fact, I have one of those that I put on my robots.
But Powermatic also has a riser block, but it's $800 for the riser block as well.
Right, but I was only trying to do something else.
Yeah, no, I know.
Actually, I was trying to do something with my jet.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have been doing.
I've always thought, I've always thought if you just got your regular boat stand and got that matching screw and welded a really nice tool rest on there, you would be able to use that off the end of the lathe with no bed. Someday I'm gonna try it, because it's not a very expensive try.
I've got some boat stands.
No, I know, I mean, they're easy to get one, and, you gotta get it's just gotta be the right height. And, I always thought,
It's gotta be a little heavier than the boat stand. The boat stand's not,
you don't think,
Structurally
you
sound.
don't think it's
no,
strong enough?
you need the one like Powermatic it's a
Yeah.
big
That-
heavy
That
stand.
thing's 300 and something pounds. We
Right.
looked, John and I looked at it today. And I knew I saw one, I didn't know where I saw it, but. So that's basically how it's gonna go, according to the directions.
I've only done one thing on mine so far on the outboard end, and that was about 19.
So more than this is 17.
Well, it was actually what turned into it was a platter, a serving plate for platter.
Come on.
I can see better from here.
You have no faith. You have no faith.
We need better vision.
Come on.
The way that's set up, that extra, you got so much torque going on that
Yeah.
banjo, the way that is, it's just, it's a shitty setup.
It is. And most of the lathes in this category, and the other problem here is, I didn't realize now, but if they did give you a riser block it wouldn't fit.
It wouldn't go
We
in.
ran out of room. So this is just bringing it up to, just about to center. Everything's locked down, and like we said, we always, come away from the lathe, and then just see how it's gonna respond. Again, this is I think it's rated at 1.25. So that's 325, and it's not unusual, for me anyway, to turn at a speed under 500 until I get a nice balanced piece. You know, this was turned on my Powermatic, which obviously this is a small piece for the Powermatic.
Can the top camera move
Did it just
over?
It cannot. Well, I say it can, I'm lying. There is a trick or two we can do.
Because all we're seeing is the motor.
Right. Well, you're not gonna see much of anything. This is basic 101 bowl turning. And I mounted that on there for that reason.
I'm okay, but anybody who's relying on the camera. Yeah.
Now you'll see it, but again, it's full turning 101. It's nothing fancy.
That's where I am.
So again, I'm behind the line of fire. About 300.
What are you making?
We don't know yet. So that's about 500. That's not too bad. You can see the lathe, and I've got the torque way down. One of the things I was worried about with this so that's dropping almost 100 RPM. But the more you go, the more vibration and potential problems. I just have to try to pick way at that. I can get it maybe just a little bit more true.
With the reset motors instead of 10, you're putting the four-jaw chuck inside the motors and opening it.
Right.
So deep used to be.
I don't have any experience with recesses, so.
You wouldn't do that. You
I
wouldn't
would
do
say-
that on a piece like this because that expansion will blow the bowl apart because you got so much mass on the outside. That's why they would always put a tenon on, because a tenon will hold and not blow apart, but because you could, that just expansion in that hole, it would never do it. Not a big piece, a small piece that's sitting on the lathe, that's one thing, but something big overhanging, they just don't do
Yeah, I'm
it.
not doing anything to say.
Yeah. They always put the tenon on, or they use the face plate.
We're in the-
I think the lathe would handle more speed, but without having that tool support, from the tail start, just changes the whole dynamics of safety. And, if I was at home, I might try it. I'm gonna try to just creep up and get it a little bit truer, and hopefully I can get the speed up enough to continue.
So why do they make a lathe that does that don't have the balls to do
Because there's somebody that will buy it.
it?
And, I'm sure everybody knows, I'm not gonna tell you a story again. This is not the lathe of choice that we wanted. We got this by default. And I was worried about that motor, but I wasn't really planning. This is not something that you would do on a normal basis. I mean, this bull is almost 5 inches in diameter, in thickness. And it's got some weight to it. I don't think this is what they thought you would use this for. If you were doing an 1.5 or 2 inch platter, a 16-inch platter, this isn't a bad idea. Again, my thought on this whole concept is just the bed extension is all you need, because then you can do spindle work, like, long spindles, chairs, things like that. To come outboard and try to do a bowl as big as I'm going to do, this lathe probably isn't the right fit. Not probably, it's definitely not the right fit. And I'm used to making heavy cuts, so this is even more complicated to try to make a light cut. So we're getting through, so I think I will be able to get a little bit more speed out of it, which will help. One of the things that Roland had mentioned, and I never really gave it the thought until he told that story, but a lot of people and a lot of lathes, including this one, if you hit the off button while you're at full speed or any speed, doesn't matter, and then you hit the on button, it resumes where you are. Myself personally, I'm like Roland, I always turn my dial down. I never go to the off for that reason. And after the demonstration that he talked about, now I will make sure I never do that. But that's a good point, because I was with somebody, actually Jerry Bernardini, before he passed away, and I did the demo at his house on his brand new Powermatic, and I slowed it down, and he said, "Jesus, what are you slowing it down for? All you gotta do is hit the stop button." And if you're doing a piece like this and you know where you're at, you know, you could do that. But if you forget, turn that dial down, then you mount the next piece the next day and you turn it on, it's coming on at wherever you were, and it's, and it can be a major problem. So it's a good feature to stay away from that dial and you know, always dial down instead of keeping that. It's just for a safety reason, if nothing else.
My lathe speeds up from when you start it. So like some lathes that are completely belt driven, you turn it on and it's 0 to 1,000 instantly.
Instantly, right. But if they're
Mine-
variable speed,
Those like variables, do all variable speed lathes kind of like spool up
they'll go to where you left it.
from, but it's not like instantly on.
Right.
No,
Starts out
no. It takes a
Takes
little
time to
bit
get
of,
up to speed.
it won't come on like it won't go right to 1,000. This one won't either. But by the time you realize that, it's too late. You already exploded.
I'm just more curious of other people's lathes.
You've already
It's like that for
exploded
all
at that
variable
point.
speeds.
That's part of the whole advantage to a variable is because it's got a slower ramp up speed
Okay.
instead of, so it reduces
Bought
the
these
amount of
from
starting point.
One Way
On
for,
road.
I don't know, a couple of cents. I don't remember what they were.
I
But
don't-
they
I
have
don't
all
know
the
if I would
common,
do that because I always
tenon
slow it down
sizes.
anyway.
Right.
Oh.
So I don't
and
know.
they have the
But I
center
do
marks.
know.
So what I just
As
did
fast
is
as I
put
want.
that on center,
But I don't-
Yeah,
but I
normally-
never started
Put my mark on
at high
center.
speeds.
and then I mark
Normally,
here, this is my
most
3
variable
inch.
frequency
Oh.
drives,
You know, then I have one for
they're
4 and
part of the
four
thing
and
that's built
something,
in
2
with
and
having that
something.
variable frequency
And then if you do
drive
mortises, they have
is
the,
to allow it to
Well,
have
you know,
lower startup
you
amps.
can make them
So
faster
instead
at
of
home, but
suddenly having,
it's already made.
1,800 amps required to start it up,
Right.
it starts up at 500 amps for power.
Yeah.
And then it comes up with the speed. So your starting voltage, I said amps, your starting voltage,
Have you been turning?
you don't have that huge starting voltage. You know, it's your running voltage might be, it's like a generator.
Right.
Running voltage might be, you're running your generator at 1,200 amps or 400 volts. But then you start up something, and all of a sudden, the starting voltage will jump up to 1,500. Because the starting voltage, and then once it comes up to speed, the voltage drops down to whatever.
When I first bought my Jet 16, it's a 16 30 something, but you can buy an extension like that. And when I first bought it, I thought I was buying a big lathe, but at 16, it's a little lathe. So what I did was I got the extension and then I got, the machine shop to build me a plate, so I could drop that extension down, so I could take 24 inches, 30 inches. And then when I realized, wait a minute, you bought a small lathe, you can't do big stuff. And before you hurt
So,
yourself, buy a new lathe.
So you said you're wanting to do feet.
I think it's 1840.
It's in the,
1840.
Yeah, mine was 1630 something, I think, which
I'm
was
thinking
2.5
about feet.
horse, 3
Okay,
horses.
hang on a
but I'm
second.
not
But
gonna
it's not
have,
made for what I was doing.
I'm not gonna.
And then I bought the
have-
robot. 6
what
months
I
later,
want.
I only had it for, I still had it, but I only used it for 6
So here's
months.
what I was gonna do.
Just bought by a big one. So now it's 625 over the bed.
And then, we don't know how big, but I'm thinking the feet.
3 with a lot of torque.
Okay.
And then I can ride it off
Instead of
and
like
spin
not all the way
40.
out.
I don't know.
And so what you would do then would be to, basically like you were gonna do a recess,
Yeah.
was for this flat,
Yes.
take this and to take your put a recess in.
Yeah.
All the way out to wherever you want your feet.
Right.
And then if you want your feet in here, then on the outside of this, so what you want, and you'll end up with a raised ring.
Which is, would be this.
So, right, okay, so if that's gonna be your raised ring.
So that's enough for
It depends on how tall you want your
So
feet
now
to
this
be.
is gonna be hollowed in.
And then, right, so you go on and
Come in, correct.
from here and then hollow that out so that you've got this raised thing and that's where your feet are. Yep.
Let me just point that out. So this is not where it's gonna be, but what Chris was just explaining is, so I'm gonna put my tenon on. I'm gonna leave this ring here. Well, you can't really see it, but, so this lip,
You can see it on
and then, yeah,
this camera.
so this lip, and then this is our feet, and this will be hollow, concave a little bit. And then I'll grind this away every third. I don't know if this is where my feet's gonna be. Haven't got to that point yet. But I'm not gonna do a lot because this is just not that good. So the tenon, so the chuck that we bought, was the one-way Talon, and it has spigot jaws, not dovetail. They call them spigot, right? Is that the correct term? Spigot jaws. So there's no dovetail. So this is a flat, and there's teeth on the inside that grab that. So this is all I use. I suck at making dovetails, so I brought the Talon chuck. Don't need any dovetails. It's just flat. And I believe the correct term is spigot jaws. Or spigot, something to that effect. So we're not gonna get as far as I had hoped, but, so at this point, I'm gonna put the chuck on, flip it around, and again, it's not gonna fit over the lathe bed, at least not at this height. And I probably won't be able to hollow it. So what I wanna do is just go through the motions so that we all.
The tenon only needs to be, because you don't want the tenon, if the tenon's too deep, you don't want the tenon bottoming out on the teeth of the chuck. Or I mean, on the inside, you know, there's the top edge of the teeth go against the flat, but you don't want the tenon hitting on the inside of the teeth, so that the teeth don't, so the out by board edge doesn't sit up flat.
This piece probably weighs about 30 pounds.
You only need this. Yeah. Once you get comfortable, because I was always going just before a bottom. And then I'm down now, I can just go like this much. But then I'm at that point where I'm not getting catches all the time. And I also make sure my tendon is the right shape.
Yeah.
Because if it's pointing in the wrong direction, when it clamps, it won't.
Oh, yeah, that's the paper.
Yeah, you gotta have a nice flap, so it grabs on the whole tendon. If it's only grabbing on the back side or the front side, you get a lot of things can go wrong.
I have trouble reattaching sometimes, getting it back around.
I always mark between 3 and 1 and 4.
Yeah.
My jaws, I always mark that.
So you put 1 to 1, you put it back to where.
Hope that's ever tight enough, Rick.
It will be in a moment.
Yeah, always do
Not
the same
yet, but
spot.
it will be. Pete, I have all the confidence in the world in you.
If it's too deep.
That's why we're sitting all the way back.
Yeah, that's right, that's what I'm waiting back.
Getting it back.
Now, in this particular case, the truck has
You know what I mean?
two turn points, you want to tighten both,
Just using the same.
and then go around, tighten them again. Yep,
That we're not thinking about.
especially with this size piece.
Like, the fact that you're doing just the appropriate size 10 and
Yeah.
not too big. I'm sure that has some sort of factor to
Yeah.
keep. Because if you did that too big, and your body out,
Then it was bad to begin with.
right, that's a way to get it.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't, and another thing I don't understand is why it's got that whole dog leg L shape to it. I mean, I guess
But generally,
if you're having to get around the outside,
it's always gonna rack, you know, a little bit. But a little bit is always okay. For me.
but I think it would be more beneficial in some ways, because you gain space, you gain lateral space.
That's why people,
If
that's why.
the tool rest
I don't know if
could,
they made it.
if it could
So
go
you just
here,
leave
or
that
if they also
top
had
on.
one to go here, so you can back it up. And you have this turn around and
It's gonna keep spinning right.
It's another rationalization of why I have to do that. Really big pieces, I'll do two face plates, one on the bottom, one on the back, one on the face. And then until I get everything, like the huge ones,
Yeah.
until I get everything. Like last face plate that I have, the place where the tendon would be, and then I'll put a tendon on it.
So at any rate,
Yeah, see, I've got big chunks, you know, so I almost never use the faceplate.
Looks like the truck's holding the 200.
it is all.
Yeah, but I
So,
would still.
I
go
didn't
between
fully
centers,
true this
round it
piece
all out.
while I had it flipped around because the lathe didn't do it. So now, when I go back to my lathe, my first cuts will be to reshape the outside. My lathe's got 20-inch capacity. So I'll reshape this end of it and then start hollowing. Right now, to start hollowing, it's not quite true yet. So I'll do this shape first at home and then do the hollowing. But you can see if you've got a smaller lathe and you're thinking to go this route, you've got some serious limitations. Size, weight, tenon, whether it's a tenon, whether it's a mortise. And then when you think about spending an extra $400, give or take, probably not your best idea.
The biggest issue is it's only supported on one side. There's no, because you don't have your tailstock.
Well, if you had the tailstock, you would at least ease some of your tension.
Yeah.
The problem, though, is what I suspected, and I'm on low. I've got the belt. This is a 2-speed, one low, one high, and it is on low. I did check. But the motor doesn't have the torque to handle a piece this heavy. Now, if this was a 2-inch platter and I could zip up 1,000 RPMs, that would probably make up for the torque. But trying to turn this at 500 RPMs with low torque, no torque in this particular case, makes this size piece impossible for this lathe.
unless,
Now, you said you turned a 19-inch piece,
yeah,
and what was the
I was doing
so
a
very
ladder type of thing. So
platter type?
it was only about 2 inches.
Right.
It was only about 2 inches thick, and it wasn't round. It was actually more rectangular. It was longer than it was wide, but it was, it was half that thickness.
Yeah.
So half the weight.
Were you able to get your speed up fairly comfortably? Do you
Yeah.
recall? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think what the lathe is picking up is the weight of this. Because even when I go to start up, it's seems like it's struggling just on the, I'm moving it out quite a bit, but nothing's really happening. I mean, it takes a while to get it up and then a while to get it to go back down. But again, I think that's this motor.
Well,
Um,
I'm wondering if putting the tenon on without completely shaping the bottom
Right,
and putting the tenon on while, when it's flipped around, putting the tenon on so you can flip it over and get it set up to this point. Even if you don't have the outside completely shaped, I don't know whether it would, the banjo and tool rest would be able to get around so you can get at it from this side to do
I
it.
don't know.
And then what
Right.
my thought process being, once you got the tenon on here, I could take a chainsaw and hollow out a huge
Yeah.
amount of the middle of this,
Yeah.
which
You
would,
could.
I could
Yeah.
cut down the weight by,
Yeah. Well, I
I
think
could cut the
that's-
weight down to a half, between, a quarter to a half of what it currently is.
Right.
And that would solve some of the
But again,
motor torque issue.
I guess my reason for doing the demo is if anybody was thinking about doing this purchase, this is something that you would expect. These are the obstacles, in my opinion, which I thought, and now I've proved them, that these would be the obstacles that you'll run up against. The weight of the piece versus the motor. And again, this is this Laguna. Now, the next size up from this, the 1836 with a 2 horsepower motor, and it does have riser block capacity for the tailstock. But if it has this, you're screwed, because this and this, there's nowhere to put the tailstock because of the configuration of this. The jet that I had was simply a taller bar. That's all it was, just a taller bar.
Unless you,
Well, actually,
you
no,
could just
it
go ahead and
did-
get a taller bar
Yeah,
with a longer
it did-
shaft to
it
go
did.
in here.
I stand corrected. It did have an adjusted, it did have an elbow, but not like this. There was enough room for a piece this big and my tailstock on that 20 inches. It was tight, but I had that rider block specially made just to hold it as much as it could. Again, if you're thinking about turning bowls like this and you're thinking about getting a new lathe, you probably want to save up and go to the next step up.
The moral to the story is get the lathe, the biggest lathe you can afford.
Right.
Because if you buy one thinking, because that 16-inch, I thought that was like big.
It was huge.
That was like compared to this big. I was only had this big, and then 16 is like, whoa. And then you find out, wait a minute, they can spin 25. I've got a lathe that spins 25. And that's why, let's go for the biggest and just bite the bullet.
When I got this one, compared to my little Delta 416, like the one we used to have in here, this was monstrous.
But again, so with this piece here, if I had this lathe, if I owned this lathe, and this was my lathe, if you put this on the bandsaw at 14 7/8, you don't need this. You'd still struggle with the motor, but at least, I mean, if this was cut to 14 7/8,
Yeah,
a little bit of shaping, you'd still get a 14 or 13 7/8, 13, 15, you'd be.
But you're talking dropping, when you're talking about dropping off, what, 3
inches,
3 to
yeah.
4 inches in diameter,
Right.
you've also decreased that much weight. So
right.
that
Over
that
there,
size
you
motor
you
might not be an issue
right.
for something that you're running it only
Right.
14 and a half inches
Right.
diameter
So if
compared
you were
to
gonna do,
that.
I mean, a 14 and a half inch bowl is still, it's no 30-inch bowl, but it's still a decent sized bowl. And I don't know, Roland, your opinion on marketing these bowls at 16, 17, 18 inches. I don't think there's a big market for that, would you?
No, for the big one, like 25, 20,
Yeah.
25. But the nice thing about the 20 to 25 bowl is nobody makes them. So if somebody wants one, they will
have
buy
one.
that.
Right.
But
Right.
and then plus it's impressive. It makes you look like,
Yeah.
whoa, I'm a real wood turner.
But I think that 13, 14, 15, 16, I think
Yeah.
seems to be my best marketplace. So even at, turning this on the bandsaw to 15 inches and then shaping as leave your rim at, 14 and a half. And then you're shaping, you still have a good size 14-inch bowl, and you can get your depth if you need it to be. And like Chris said, if you trim this to 15 inches, now you just cut away another 10 pounds, 15 pounds of wood. And then you could do it on board rather than go with this. The only thing, again, I like this extension idea because now you got a 1540, and I think that's, for most people, that's a very nice size. I think that's a very nice size lathe. 15-inch capacity, 40-inch spindle, that's, in my opinion, that's a decent, not only a beginner lathe, but it'll get you into that next level. And then, if you're serious about making bigger bowls, you're gonna find a way to find $5,000 for the next size up. And unfortunately, that's the jump. You're gonna go from 2,000 to 5,000.
Or
Or
3,000 to 10.
Or, right. Well, not.
But it's better to go from 3,000 to 10 than to go from 3,000 to 5,000 to
Right.
7,000 to 10.
Right.
Just bite the bullet and go for 10.
Which, that's easier said than done.
I know.
I mean, I would love to, I keep looking at all the next size up from mine. I mean, I got the 35-20 Powermatic. And, was that 5 inches, 25, is that much? How many 25-inch bowls are you gonna make? Then you gotta build a hoist to get the thing on the damn lathe, because you can't pick it up. So,
The other
I don't know.
thing too is that you're not only spending more money on the lathe, but like I don't have 230 in my shop, so now I gotta call in an electrician.
yeah, so this is 110, but I don't think if this does this come in 230? I don't think it would matter. It's the motor itself, it wouldn't matter. And this particular lathe does not offer an upgrade, do they? I don't think they do. I don't think they do. But again, I think what we're doing is we're going from two classes here. This, I guess you'd call it a mid-size lathe, is a decent sized lathe for most turners, almost everybody. As you get 10 years in and you want to get to that next level, by then you've probably made up your mind that you've been stashing money in your cookie jar for the whole time, planning to go to that next level. Good news is these lathes don't really lose their value. So in a good market, if you paid $2,000 for this, you could probably get, $1,500, $1,600, $1,700 with all the extras that you've added to it. Now that 5,000 is only 3,000 away. So that's, in my opinion, that's what I would do, is dump this before I get to the next one. Or if you go to Roland House, he has one of everything. So, most people don't need one of everything. One's sufficient, but.
Yes, they do. They just don't know that they need it yet.
Yeah.
He has the space for it.
Yeah. Now, Jane, you have the record, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now, that head swivels, correct?
Yep.
So your outboard does it slides as well, right?
I don't think it's sliding, it's just.
Oh, just pivots. Okay, so you don't have technically outboard. Well, if it did, it would spin 180
Sideboard.
and you would go on this side.
Yeah.
If it doesn't slide,
And it's only one horse too. We're
and
just
it's
trying to
only
figure
one
it out.
horse. And it's only what, 12 inch that one? 14?
14.
14, which, 14
Not
bad.
bad.
It's not a bad size lathe, 14, in my opinion. I just got into bigger is better, and I like turning
Oh,
bigger,
I'm
so,
just trying to figure out how to do indexing. Maybe we can have something on that.
there's an indexing device on the lathe.
Yes,
I don't use it.
in the headstock.
I'm sure Roland does, but I don't use it.
It really makes it easy
I'm sure it does.
when you want to have equal, like making a flower shaped bowl. Now every pedal is where it belongs. With indexing, that's what's
Maybe
nice
you could
about
do a
it.
demonstration on that, Roland? Maybe?
I don't know what this does. I don't know.
It's got indexing.
It does have indexing.
Yes, it does.
In the head over there?
Yeah.
Go to Roland's house and have him show you.
I could practically walk
Do
here.
some- Yeah, that's what I mean, you're close.
Yeah, close.
Be damn if I know how to operate it, Chris probably does, but
Um,
you just screw this in a little bit
Yeah.
instead of a lot of it.
you just go in, you just screw it in until you feel it hit. And then you can go, then you turn it until it suddenly goes into the hole. So that's in, that's one of them.
Oh, you can't see what you're doing, you're guessing?
Mine you can see.
No, you're guessing.
Yeah, I've
Mine
got
has a little port.
42 holes.
No, I guess you can't.
So you can break that up into.
So I don't know what the
You know,
distance.
So if you had 6, you could do
So that's in one hole, that's in one hole.
You
Bring it out a
can
little
see
bit,
each one.
turn
They're
it
each
around.
numbered, they're numbered too.
That's in the next, so I don't know what the degrees between holes.
But then you
Yes.
can also buy indexes that go on that lathe.
Yep.
Any lathe, but instead of having 40, you could have 60, you could have 80, so there's a whole shitload.
I'm sure it's probably in the manual
I'm sure it is.
for what the.
Yep.
For what the degrees between the holes is.
Well, it all depends how many holes there are.
Right.
You know, so if there's 6 holes, that's how many you can do 6, or you can do 3, so, but you can't do more.
Yeah, I'm sure it's in the manual how many there are, I just don't remember it offhand.
So at any rate, I hope to do a little bit more turning, but more so, I wanted to go through the pros and cons, and I think pretty much we hit those pretty good. And that was my main goal, because I know a lot of people, like myself, I bought this setup, not this one, but when I had my jet, and I thought, man, I'd never buy a bigger lathe after that, and that 6 months later, you know, I had another power, I actually had the Grizzly, the 25-inch Grizzly, which I thought was a monster, but then the Powermatic came on, and there is a difference between Grizzly and Powermatic, and there is a difference between Powermatic and the American Beauty. There's, you know, those $5,000, $7,000, $10,000 jumps, there's a reason for it. And when you get the 766 Grizzly for, I think I paid about $2,100. So for about the money of this, that was 24 by 40. And that lathe, believe it or not, when I was spinning pieces like this, and I wouldn't true them up on the bandsaw, if I could lift them and I could get them on there, then I was turning them. And I could literally see the bed flexing. And I had it screwed into 6 inches of concrete. And you could feel it flexing. So all these lathes, although they're all made in Japan and China or whatever, you know, there is a degree of thickness in these beds, and the weight of the lathe, it makes a huge. I mean, that Grizzly was a monster, but literally I could feel the headstock slightly vibrating from the bed, from twisting the bed, because the pieces were that far out around, and being bolted to the floor, I could still only get 600 RPMs. You know, and I poured lag bolts into the concrete before I poured the concrete, so they were under the concrete. You know, the full bed is 6 inches deep, and I could still shake that sucker from. But I think that was, you know, the thickness of this, and then you take the Powermatic bed. Christ, that bed weighs almost 400 pounds by itself, and it's a monster compared to this. Even the headstock on that Powermatic is over 100 pounds. So, you know, but that's where those, you get what you pay, you know, go for the biggest bang in the checkbook. But I still swear by, when you start off, the Powermatic that.
1420.
Yeah, 1420 with the bed extension. Now it's 1440. Really, you know, that's a very comfortable lathe. And this isn't bad either. I just don't like this motor. I think you'll find, and I don't know if you've ever tried, does your motor have the drag that this does? I mean, this has no torque whatsoever. You could stop this
I've
thing.
not gotten it to ever get.
Yeah, I mean, this, I was literally stomping it,
Yeah,
you know. It doesn't have the Powermatic motor, you know. And the other one that we were gonna get was the Raycon, and you have that, and you don't, that's probably 3 horse though, right? Raycon, yeah. You know, and that's the difference, you know, if you were gonna do outboard turning and this was a 2 horsepower serious motor, you'd probably be okay. You probably, you know, this wouldn't be a bad fit, you could get away with it, but with this little motor, you know, what we proved today is not gonna happen. Not a piece that big and not that heavy. But like Chris said, a platter or something thin, or, you know, maybe even a piece of kiln drive that's not heavy at all,
Yeah,
that you could, you know. But again, like Roland said, to save your money, get the best, get the next size up. But I still like the Powermatic, the 1440 and the next one up. And we probably should have got that one here. Look, Paul Grenier said we should have, and we didn't. But that's a different story. So, any other questions on any of
So we're
these?
gonna see the finished product?
If I don't sell it first.
Not tonight.
Yeah.
Not tonight, next.
So I'm not sure, I mean, it's gonna remain approximately this big. I'll have to take off, probably.
You have to take off another-
Probably an inch will come off, then I'll shave it down, and then, I gotta give this feed idea some thought. But, yeah, I mean, the wood itself is it's a nice, pretty piece of ambrosia. I have several of them. It makes a nice salad bowl, good size. You know, when I sell all my work at the craft shows, and I usually try to bring at least a dozen big, 14 to 16-inch bowls. People they'll spend $100 for them. It's crazy. I would never, on my best day, spend $100 on a salad bowl, but you go by Roland's, they're $300. So if you get a discount, you go to work.
Yeah, but when you're eating salad, you gotta have it in a wooden salad.
Yeah, I don't know about
Makes a
that.
difference.
I like my salad comes in a bag. No, I agree, but for me, when I try to turn, and all my turning now is now geared towards what I think will sell. Everything I turn, I think about that customer that's gonna be walking down the street with their MasterCard dying to be swiped. And so everything I turn based on what I have seen people buy, and I've done 4 years now, so I think I've got a good idea of what they like and what they don't like, and what they'll spend and what they won't spend. But that, for me, that $40 to $75 is that comfort window at a craft fair.
One of the guys in the guild, his son is a turner, and I've run into him twice at the Newport Street Fair, and he sells almost exclusively bowls, typically anywhere from, that's a small bowl for him. And I mean, he's done, I've this big, this deep, $500-600.
Yeah, that's a very small market for those Indians. They stay in Newport if that's what you're trying to do, because you ain't getting that at the gas station or in Warwick, in my opinion. But I mean, there are people out there. I've got one lady who has she's approaching $1,000 worth of my bowls, and she always gets the biggest, best one I have, or 2 at a time. First time I met her, she brought 4 bowls. I had to deliver them because she couldn't carry them. Yeah, and she came back this year. I mean, the first time she spent like $300 the first day. She came back the second day, spent $200 more. The following year, she spent $280, $290, and this year she spent $200 and something again. I mean, she's almost got $1,000 worth of, and she gets all my most unusual pieces. She's got some type of collection going on, but they're loaded. They don't, looking for something to do. Like, I'll just get $1,000 worth of junky wood bowls. Whatever. Works for me.
Makes you happy.
But that's
Nice
a,
job, Rick.
but that's a topic for future, how many people do sell their work? You sell your,
I haven't sold in a year, but I have sold.
Pete, you sell your,
I'm trying, that's where I'm working on it, and family and friends and stuff right now, but.
Yeah.
I'm gonna retire in a couple of years, and
have you reached out to like looking at the fair type thing or?
I have a friend of mine that does fairs for, she sells sweatshirts and stuff, so she's gonna help me out with that a little bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm kinda getting my feet wet, the business end of it.
Yeah.
I don't want the business end, I just wanna make goals.
Yeah, so you sold them in the past?
Birdhouse, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so Roland sells his in a gallery, and now I understand John's in a gallery. So if you're gonna do those $400 bowls, you better be in the gallery. If you
Yeah,
want
when
that.
they're
kind
in
of-
a gallery,
The gallery,
sits
they-
there for 2 months.
Do you know what you're looking at?
Eventually
Yeah, I'm just trying
But they
to, yeah, this
expect
is,
to pay
it's gonna be lined up with
They're
this.
going there,
Send
they're
them
going into
Right.
a place like that for wedding
Yeah,
gifts,
because,
for
and
gifts,
they're
for
willing,
gifts, so
they're willing
I
to
got a
stick
little
it
bit
out.
long. It's
Yeah,
not
they're
perfect.
expecting to
Yeah.
spend.
It really has to be
I just
perfect.
paid
It's not
a couple of
perfect.
nice-
Yeah, you wanna be perfect, because otherwise
two
when you're
weddings this
sitting in
spring.
that, it'll be over here.
Right.
So you wanna stop, you always wanna stop, so.
All right, so I gotta readjust
Yeah.
that.
Right.
Well, you can, it's gonna follow through everything you do, so.
Put it together, you know.
Yeah, so my whole, some of the meetings that I've missed was because of my involvement in with this whole effort to save Potsy Field.
Yeah.
I'm not only hitting town council meetings, but I've been citizens
I
advisory committee meetings, planning board meetings, community outreach meetings. So there's so many other additional meetings that I've been getting.
I'm still learning.
You're gonna take on more than this, because you figure this, just to get rid of this, that's gonna take.
I know.
So I had to rescan all my stuff.
I'll get it. I mean,
You know,
I
actually,
turn it into a diamond.
We start your own shop. Seems like he's pretty good.
Somebody named Richard Rathman.
Still trying to get in.
For the end.
I'll just make sure he visits your oil and spend some time with her. He's got a beautiful lake.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 weeks out. Technically not.
There are those big carriages, or Ellsworth is another guy, you find his YouTube shows.
Did you know he died?
If you have a table, if you have a table at your house,
So they're well
and you have
known.
a toddler come
What's
over,
all-
chew on
After your
it,
show.
it's the leg of the table, they're not gonna
Richard,
get
he's
sick
been doing it
because
for
that's
30, 40, 50 years, maybe.
it's like the
The
finish
whole
is
time. But he
cured,
really
it's
doing that.
encapsulated.
Ellsworth was
there's
really
nothing
good
on
at
that
it.
table leg that's
Yeah.
gonna hurt the child.
But those were people like,
So
you know,
technically,